Hello everyone and welcome to today's session where we're going to be covering how to customize the ledgers in your Sage 50 accounts software. Now today's session, it is booked out for 45 minutes. More than likely not going to need that full 45 minutes, but it is there just in case we do have any questions outstanding at the end. Like I say, do get your questions through to me throughout the session rather than waiting till the very end. So we're going to do a bit of demonstration today, very short slides, but if you are wanting to join me in doing any of the demonstration today, I am going to be doing it in demonstration data, and I'll show you a very brief moment on how to get access to that. But just before we start, I just want to cover some housekeeping. So what you will see is that you will be placed on mute when you join. If you do have any questions, however, you can use the questions panel on the right-hand side of your screen by clicking on the option that looks like a little speech bubble with the question mark in the middle. Now it is just myself on today's session, so please do bear with me on answering those questions today. We do also have a handout for today. Again, there's not many slides at all, but I know that a lot of you do like to print those slides and make notes on those. So that is available just by looking at using the icon that looks like a little document with the folded corner. Just a reminder that your follow-up email is going to include links to register for future webinars, watch recordings, and also as well, it's going to include the recording in there. My name is Abby. So let's get started with what we're going to be covering on today's session. So I'm going to start by introducing the topic, different areas that you might benefit from, options that you might use to customize your software. So there's options within tools and then the options window. We're going to look at the columns within your ledgers, so how to hide, view, sort by ascending and descending. We're also going to look at the little icons along the top of your software as well. So when you go into each module, how do you customize those as well? And also as well, we'll look at filtering your ledgers. And then towards the end, I will show you the upcoming webinars and what we've got going on throughout the next month or so. So customizing your software may help navigate your ledgers easier. So it might be as simple as adding grid lines to your ledgers, make it easier to read information, grouping your icons, applying colors, choosing which ledger your software opens on when you open the software. Also as well, if you want to tidy up your toolbar, might be some options that you don't actually use and you just want to be able to see the icons that you do use, so you can hide those as well. And also as well, being able to sort your lists. So like I say, it's going to be mainly demonstration today, so let's get stuck in and we'll move over to the software. Okay, so like I say, I'm going to be in demonstration data today. So if you want to go into demonstration data to maybe apply some of these, you can go to File and then go to Open. And then in this list, you'll see Open Demo Data. So you pop into there and you'll be able to log in. Okay, so let's do the first part. So we're going to start with the Tools and Options window. So go to Tools along the top, then into Options. Now we're not going to cover everything in this area, but we're just going to pull out a couple of some of the options. So the first one is the Show Grid Lines. So if I show you what it looks like without, so yours might look a little bit like this. We go back into Tools and Options, you can see there's no lines or anything, but if you want to add grid lines, in the first option, you've got Show Grid Lines. So if I tick that option and click OK, then if I go back into my ledgers, so we'll pop into Customers, you can now see you've got lines separating each record. And that is also throughout the software. So let's pop into suppliers, you'll see it in there, products and services. purchase orders. So you can see throughout, you don't pick which area specifically you want to see this, but this is going to be all users that use the same machine. So if you use individual machines, it'll just be used, it's more like PC specific. So if you're all using the same machine, then it's going to apply to everybody. But if you're using separate machines, then it should only apply to the machine that it is applied to. That makes sense. And it will be all companies as well. So if I was to log into one of my other companies, because I've applied it on the software, it will apply to all of my companies. The next one I'm going to cover, just before we do, just if you want to switch that option off, it's just simple as going back into Tools, Options, and then just unticking that option and clicking OK. Then that will remove that option as well. So the next one I want to show you is all about grouped icons. So what I'm talking about is if you have a smaller screen, as you can see in mine at the moment, I don't have any grouped icons because my icons are able to, there's enough space for them along the top. But if I was to, so you can see a little bit, spread it out a little bit, you can see I've now got condensed icons because my software is slightly smaller. Again, this is all down to your screen resolution. So if you've got a smaller screen, you might find that some of your icons are grouped. So for example, we've got this list here. So in Customers, I've got grouped for new, edit, wizard, duplicate, and batch changes. If we want to change what the default one is at the top, so what it'll do is when you have group icons, it always has a key one that you can set that you want a quick access to. So at the moment, mine's currently set to a new customer record. Before I go into Tools and Options, and I go into Toolbar, I can actually change the different ones. So so you can see here, I haven't got any of these that are actually duplicated, set as a group. So let's just see if we can change. So same for reports. So see if I can get this to, I'd have to make it quite small. So let's give it a try. So you can see now my documents and reports. This is a better example. So I've got my my top one is my reports, but then if I click on the drop down, I've got labels, letters, statements, and reports. So it might be that actually, as myself, I run more statements. So when I run my statements, I want that as an option. So you can see that is what is currently set. But it might be you don't run the statements and you just run reports. So you want to change that default icon. So we'll pop into Tools, Options, back to Toolbar, and then into Customers, we've got Documents, Reports. It's currently set to Reports. I want to edit that, and I do want to change that to statements or letters or labels. Let's change that to letters. If I click OK, and then click OK again. So this is user specific. So if I go back to Customers, you can see now the icon has changed. When I click on the quick access button, let's say, it's then just going to open letters for me. So if you don't have a small screen, that's not necessarily going to apply to you, but if you're working on a small laptop or anything like that, and you do find that your icon, your toolbar is condensed and you've got some drop-down menus, you can change some of those options along the top. So to make that back to normal size now. The next one we're going to cover is the colours. So how you can apply colours to your ledgers. So we'll pop into Tools again, and Options. And we've got the colours option here. So you've got your colour theme. So you can choose between dark, light and white. So this is the area around on your software. You can change that. Once you change your setting, you do have to close your Sage software down and reopen it. So if you prefer to work in dark mode, I know a lot of people do, there is that option to use that as well. Next, we've got the colours. So for example, you can colour your ledgers. Now, it's not a case of, you know, you choosing which customers you want to colour or anything like that. It does it in an alternative row. But it's just so that if you need, you know, you need to see at a quick glance which area of the software that you're in, which ledger you're in, you can set colour schemes. So for customers, you click on the little dropper tool, and then you get given a colour palette. I would recommend going for paler colours as they're not as harsh on the eyes. So you can click the defaults here out of the options. Now what we're going to say is don't select black, as it doesn't revert the text. So avoid the black colours or the dark colours. But what we recommend, these might be a little bit too bright for you, but you can click Define Custom Colours. So if you choose, for example, you know, a green, make it a pastel colour just by dragging this arrow down the side, make it a pale colour, click OK. So I've made my customers green. Might want to make my suppliers orange. So then when I click, might choose another one as well. So invoices and credits. Let's go for a blue. So you can see I've got all those options there. So click OK. And we'll click customers. So you can see it doesn't, like you say, it's not specific customers, it's just an alternative row. So then you can see when you go into different areas of the software, you can say, all right, well, I know I'm in invoices and credits, I know I'm in my customers, I know I'm in my suppliers. So again, recommended, go for pale colours, pastel colours. It's not as harsh. They tend to work best as well. The next one I'm going to show you is the view option. So this is quite helpful if you only work in specific areas of the software. So we go back to tools and options again, and we go into view at the end. So this is where you choose where you want your software to open into when you first launch the software. So for example, if you just work in invoices and credits, you could come in here and you could select invoices and credits, click OK. So then when my software launches, it will automatically open in the invoices and credits module. Now that is user specific, so it's really helpful if you have got multiple users. Some of them only work in invoices, some might work in purchasing or bank, various areas of the software. They can each choose their own initial view that launches when they open the program. I'm just going to put mine back to home, as that's the default. So then when I launch, it brings up my home screen. Okay, so we've done the tools and options, so we've covered some options in there. Other areas we're going to cover now is more about the toolbar and the navigation bar. So we've got the navigation bar down the left-hand side. What I'll do is I'll turn those colours off as well. Just a little bit distracting when we're going to be doing some demonstration. So bear with me a second. Okay, so we've got the navigation bar down the left-hand side, and then we've got the toolbar along the top. You might want to customize this. It might be that some ledgers you don't use. So what you can do, so down the left-hand side specifically, if you right-click anywhere, you get given the options that appear down the left-hand side. So it might be that I don't use the diary in the software, so I want to hide that. I only work with the customers, so I want to hide suppliers, purchase orders, you know, fixed assets. You know, you can hide and show as many as you want. So you can hide the options that you don't use, so then your navigation's a lot easier. You've got less options to choose from. You can also apply this to along the top. If you want to get what originally was down the left-hand side back, simply right-click and then click Use Defaults. And then you can see they now reappear. Same along the top. So it might be you want to right-click anywhere. Let's have a look what you could hide. So it might be when you're creating new records, you don't use the wizard. Let's have a look. I think of ones that you could delete that you don't, or hide that you don't want to use. You don't use comms. So you can see it's entirely up to you which ones that you don't want to use. You can simply hide them off there, and you can see as well it'll make more space. So if you do find that your options are along the top are condensed because you've got a small screen, as you start to hide those options, it will then make more space. So you can see I'll hide contra entries, request payment. So you can see there's more space, and you can see they'll now, they'll start to spread out, so then you don't have those condensed menus. So that might be helpful if you do have a small screen, if you want to hide some of those options, and then it saves you having those grouped icons. Same applies in terms of in other areas as well. So you could go into suppliers, you could hide the areas that you don't need in here as well, just simply right clicking and then using those options. Same as before, if you want to go back to defaults, right click, at the very bottom you've got use defaults, and that will put it back to exactly how it was before. You've also got the option for this with your column headers as well. So if you right click on your column headers, you've actually got way more information that you can actually include in your ledgers. So this is obviously these options are dependent on which ledger you're in, which options are available to you as well. So if you wanted to add in the email addresses to show on this screen as well, you've got that option there. You can add in, if you use custom fields, you've got this at the bottom, you've got the customer type, these are custom fields as well. You can use those options. It might be, let's have a look what else you could add in. You might want to include the VAT number. So you can actually include a lot of information. And again, these are all user specific. So hiding the toolbar, navigation bar, hiding those options, same column headers. You've got that option as well. So you can hide those, you can add in more. So are they a priority customer? So there's a lot more information that you include that makes it a little bit easier to do your job. You can also as well use default, so just revert back to what the default options were. Now you can't change the order of these column headers, they will appear as they are. They can't drag them around and change the order of those. You can also sort your ledgers by ascending, descending, depending on the column header that you choose. So whether it's account reference, you might want to go by credit limit, things like that. If you want to sort by ascending or descending, you can just double click on it again and it will sort it by ascending or descending. Again, you can do this within various windows, so you could do this within your suppliers. Again, you might have different options, invoices and credits. There'll be different options within here as well that you can add in more or less information. If you wanted to hide what you've got in there, so if you wanted to untick, it would then hide those options, but they can always be brought back. You'll also find as well that you can do this within some of the windows. So for example, if we go to batch invoice and customers on the other screen, if you right click, you can also hide or include options within here as well. So if you ever see a column header, right click, see if it's available and see what you can include or exclude in here as well. One other area that I do want to cover as well is filtering your ledgers. So it might be that you want to have a certain view of your customers in terms of, what you might want to see. So some of you may have used a filter before. It might be very common that you use a filter. Some of you may not be familiar or how to use filters as well. So to use the filter, you can search along the top. That'll search the records. But if you want to have a certain view, click filter along the top. So for example, let's just say I want to view my customers that have a 0 balance. So you choose where, under field, choose balance is equal to 0. If I click apply, that's then going to show me all the customers that have a balance. Now there's other ways that you can, there's plenty of options what you can filter by. So you could also choose another line as well. So for example, let's see what we could choose. So we can choose next line under, you can choose and let's just say credit limit is greater than 2,000. So then if we click apply, you can see there it's given me that customer that's got a 0 balance, but the credit limit is greater than 0. To get rid of those filters, you click clear form, click apply, and it will remove those as well. You can also toggle them on and off. So let's just say we'll go for, again, balance. I'll do balance again, is greater than 2,000. Apply. So then you've got all those customers that owe you more than £2,000. What you can do is you can toggle those filters on and off. So you still want to keep that filter, you want to be able to use it. You can just use this option here where it temporarily removes the filter, because you'll need to be able, if you want to report on all of your customers for whatever reason, you'll need to remember to remove the filter, but it might not be one you want to completely remove it, you just want to toggle it off. You can use this little upside down filter triangle to toggle it on and off, so that will apply that filter. You can also save filters as well. So if you've got it might be like a filter where it's got a couple of lines. You want to be able to, reuse that. You can put a couple of lines on, click save as. You can save that filter, and then when you want to reuse it, you can click open. And if you're familiar with the memorize and recall option, it's similar to that, but it's just using filters instead. So we'll clear form, put apply, just so we've got all of our records now showing. Because you might find you're running a report, but it's not showing any information, you're saying no data available. It could be because you've got a filter on. So just remember to check that as well when running reports. Okay, so one last thing I'm going to show you is inactive records. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, as we do have a live session coming up on our registration page. But if you're familiar with inactive records, so it could be where it's a customer or a supplier or a product or a bank account where you can't delete it because it's got activity, but you want to hide it from your list. So I'll quickly make some customers inactive. Let's quickly do this, some batch changes. So you can see now I've got some inactive customers. They're now showing in my list because I've got the option in the top right to include inactive. If I untick that option, again, it's just another filter, include inactive, it will actually hide those customers from the list. So it's just another way to filter out those customers or suppliers, products, bank accounts that you no longer use, but you can't yet quite get rid of them as of yet. So you can use that option. It might be that you want to include them, but that option in the top right is there. Okay, so that is the end of the demonstration on various ways that you can customize your ledgers. Some of you may find some of these options today useful. Some of them may not apply to you. Now's your chance. If you do have any questions, we haven't had anything come through as of yet. So what I'll do is, just while we wait for any questions to come through, I'll just pop back to my help center, and I just want to show you how to navigate to the webinars. I know you're going to receive a link in the follow-up email, but I'll just show you what we've got coming up over the next couple of weeks. And I do believe that July is now available as well if you want to get registered for those. So on your help center, if you go to webinars along the top, and then in here, so at the moment we've got going on, we've got the VAT proficiency badge. So if you're not familiar with our badging sessions, we have done these quite a few badges now, where you can earn a digital badge for attending so many sessions and the quiz to test your knowledge. And these are badges that you can share on your social media, with your colleagues, on your email signature, just to show that you're more proficient in your Sage software. So we've got that, we've got company preferences, obviously, so the settings as well that it contains. We've got a new webinar, so the impact of AI in small businesses. So we've got Copilot, running year end. We've got a session as well, so tools and options, similar to what we've done today, but just a bit more detail of all those options in tools and options that we've covered today. We've got remote data access. So we've got loads of sessions coming up, and now we've even got sessions live in July as well, if you want to get registered for those. Again, I'm pretty sure that we do have inactive records in there as well. If you want to get registered for that, we have had a question come through from Mandy. Did you say you can make a bank account inactive as well? I have a bank account, but is inactive, but we keep posting to it by mistake. I will quickly cover this as we do have time. So I'll just pop back to my software. And then if we pop into bank accounts, now when you use inactive records, it does have to be a certain criteria around being able to move. So it might be, you know, try to think the criteria for bank accounts off the top of my head, but usually it's like if it's got, you know, it's got to have a zero balance and things like that. So let's just try the cash register. Potentially might not work, but we'll try it. Also as well, if you're unsure, if you click on the little green icon to the right, so you can set the bank account inactive to prevent any further activity. So we'll click OK, let's click save. So you can see here, the reason that I can't set this one to inactive is because it's currently set as the cash register. So that's part of the settings in the software. So it could be a number of reasons. So if we try and make one of the other ones, it will tell you why you can't make it inactive. So when you come in here, click inactive, click save, and it'll tell me, so it's cash sales, so we can't use that one. So again, it's just each one will tell you the reason why you can't make it inactive. So this one, it has a non-zero balance, but it's also a ratio account. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more insight as to why you might not be able to make account record or whatever inactive. But again, join our session in July, and that will go into detail the criteria that's required for inactive records, how to do that, how to do it as a batch, so on and so forth. Okay, so we'll pop back to the slides. So that does bring us to the end of today's session. Again, we're going to need the full 45 minutes depending on questions. We haven't had a huge amount of questions that have come through. But if you've got what you need today and you want to leave the session, you will receive an email in around an hour or so with links to both our webinar schedule and today's recorded session for you to refer back to if needs be. Upon exiting the session, you will see a survey at the end. If you could please let me know any comments on today's session. So what you liked, did you learn anything new? What could have been done better, or what would you have liked to have seen? I like to read every single comment on there, so anything is really appreciated. Okay, so all the questions have been answered. So what I'll do is I'll wrap this session up. I want to say thank you to Michael, who did pop on in the end to this session, and thank you to you all for your participation. Just a reminder, we've got plenty of sessions over the next couple of weeks, so don't be shy and get registered. So I want to say another thank you and take care.